community is everything. So one of the tools that I have amassed throughout my journey is creating community masterminds, inviting people to a repeatable space where the goal is, what are you working on and how can we all support that? Because 1+1 is way more than 2, especially in that. So creating your own mastermind for me was one of the most powerful things I ever learned how to do.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that A, my camera works, B, my computer works, and then C, we're here today. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and the show is called Unveiling Journeys, and I am so excited you're here. Let me just tell you what's up. I love, love, love the power of networking, and I'm always asking people, who can I meet in your world that is incredible that you think that I should know, and or attending really high-level networking clubs, mastermind groups to meet some of the movers and shakers of the world, like business owners, entrepreneurs, people that have incredible ideas, products, and they're really changing the world. And let me just tell you, you get to hang out with me and Alissa today. She and I just met, and her product is incredible. What she's doing is incredible. And I want you to know her. With that, I'm going to introduce you to Alissa. We get to hang out together, and I want to hear from you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now.
Right on, man. High five for being here. This is like a Herculean feat that is like, we're out here in the universe in separate spaces, getting to connect. My name is Alissa Bickar. I am known as the Consultress. So I bring real-time strategies for folks who are doing the thing, doing business, about how to consistently and repeatedly reflect on what's working best, who they need around them, developing their leadership so that their strategy, their implementation, and their metrics match the people they have around them, the leader they're becoming, and who they get to empower. That is my simple methodology. It's the 6 pillars of awareness and reflection that is a sustainable model to continue to grow your business authentically with who you're becoming, not who you've been, and who you're meant to be, so you can create the biggest impact in the world through your business, because we all know entrepreneurs save the world.
Yeah, okay, you said so many good things. Who you're becoming, not who you've been. That is a world of something that I feel like you actually need to take a second and unpack a little bit more, because how you're changing people's lives is incredible. Tell me a little bit more about it.
So specifically, we tend to build upon our past selves, who we are becoming. So 4-year-old me is inside 44-year-old me, and 16-year-old me is still here too. So when we get in motion to build something, we might have had this idea long ago or in the very recent past, but who we become in the process of bringing new things to life changes us too. So in the grand pursuit of business, I have transformed more than I ever knew was possible because I saw something bigger than myself. And as I continued to grow and iterate, I stopped and looked back and was like, wow, there's no way I could have seen this future from where I was even 5 months ago or 5 years ago. So when we get into business and we start to move our lives and put value out into the world, if we're not constantly looking back and saying what's working, what's not, and what part of my identity needs to step aside or kind of get put to bed and put to rest so I can become more of who I'm meant to be as I grow through this process. So yeah, business grows and change, but guess what? So does the identity of the founder and the person leading the charge. And if we don't take control over that, we tend to let our business run our lives. And that's not what we got into this all for.
Yeah, hands down. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I know, like you and I, we have had many, many amazing people pour into our lives, and that is now translating into the highest and best of what you're able to give to everybody that you work with. And so I want to do this. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Tell me, where are you from? And like, did you think you were going to do this for a living whenever you were a kid? Like, what'd you want to be when you grew up? What'd you go to school for? Start from the beginning.
Okay, wait. So I'm going to take you all the way back to like when I was a twinkle in my parents' eye. I was born into an entrepreneurial family, and my dad was an immigrant. So he saw the American dreams, took the bull by the horns. My mom said, "This is great. Let's do this together." So I was front row seat to an awesome partnership from the jump. So I kind of took that for granted in my upbringing. And when I got to college level and beyond, I started working in corporations, wondering why everybody didn't care as much as I did. I'm like, I don't understand. I want to make change. And people are like, it's good enough the way it is. So in my career, I've bumped my head up against quite a few brick walls and needed to iterate and pivot. So I just got really agile and really good at doing that. But I was only able to do that because I had a great example at home. Like my dad was my first mentor of what it meant to create community, to create value, and to create really awesome products. Like we fed the community. We were in the bagel business. So everywhere we went, he brought a bag of bagels with him. So like it was his calling card. It was his gift to the world. It was his love language. So that's kind of the lens that I see business through.
Yeah.
But I was raised, go to school, get a good job, and, become a lawyer or a CPA. And I was like, neither one of you are doing that.
Yeah. Right.
So now the question is, how far back do you want me to go, and which pieces do you want to pull out? Because I've got a whole trunk full of stories right here.
Well, I guess where do you live right now compared to where are you from?
I live outside of Pittsburgh, in between Pittsburgh and Buffalo right now. And so my family and I, we live in like this rural community. And I'm originally from Long Island, New York. So I grew up on the bays. The ocean was in my backyard, but it was really crowded between Manhattan and the Hamptons. Life progressed as I grew up, and got really, really fast, really,
Yeah.
really quickly.
Right. Right. Now, what did you end
So
up wanting to be when you grew up being surrounded by such entrepreneurial parents?
I think I changed that a whole bunch of times. And to be honest, I felt like mensa stunad a little bit because I, I didn't really know. In kindergarten, we learned that there's the doctor, the lawyer, the nurse, the teacher, and being in something that was not that, I was like, okay, there's all this stuff, and then there's this other thing maybe that I've lived. So I didn't really know where I was going to fit. So my first job was in the family business. I also worked at the beaches, collecting tickets from boats in the marina and from cars coming into the parking lot. So like I had a bunch of things that were really cool. I kind of felt like I was tasting the rainbow of jobs. And when I graduated college with an economics degree, I was like, well, I guess I better be in finance. Yeah, that makes sense. So I really thought that I was going to be a financial planner. My mom was always very good with the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and running the operation. So I thought, okay, that'd be a good career path, until it wasn't. So, banking, finance, wealth management, I tried that all out until I realized like I was not cut out for financial markets. I'm so glad that there are people that do it, but I knew I needed to follow a more unique path. So I trained in sales, and I got really good at consulting and helping people move from that rigid frame of mind to this new creative frame of mind. So before I knew it, I was consulting.
In your early stages of like, okay, after high school, you decide you need to get a degree for something, right? What were some of the like left and right turns in those early stages of then feeling like, man, I'm going to do this different?
Yeah. So I was really great in high school with math and science. I loved earth science. I really loved like geology and the weather. So I applied to Villanova University for entrance as a astrophysicist. And
I love that
um,
so much. It's like one of the hardest degrees.
Well, one semester in, I started to realize I had a heart for the people and not so much of an aptitude for the lab. So I changed that. And so I started to, like, that was really where I started to see that there were options. Like, okay, I'll explore the liberal arts or some of the business school stuff. And economics really started to speak very loudly to me because it felt like the intersection of psychology and like business. I'm like, both of these things I'm good at and I kind of like. As I explored philosophy and took basket weaving 101, I got a major in economics of the arts with a minor in business and Italian, just to honor my heritage. So I tell people it's like an international business degree, sort of, but
Right.
it really was in the abstract. I pursued down the path of like that macro level look and then the micro level look, but on the behavioral side. So I really got very clear that because my heart was not meant for the lab, it was meant for the people. So I studied the behavioral side of economics. And then when I left, I started applying that as I got the jobs in the financial planning practice and, in the banking world. I started really seeing where that business stuff matched in to the psychology stuff. And there's quite a buffet and an array of experiences to have, because when you think about finance, you think, whoop, there's this one lane, you drive down it at 100 miles an hour, and then, you get the gold watch at the end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Tell us about some of those like pivotal moments. Like, okay, you get your first job, you're trying to do the finance, but you feel like you're more human style, like the people that poured into you or like a scenario that happened that you want to, because I have so much to talk about. So it's like we get to pick our favorites at this point or the most
So
memorable.
most memorable for me was Commerce Bank. So I'm in the world of finance. I realize financial planning is not for me, even though I have all these licenses. Everybody's like, oh, well, banking, obviously, you could be customer service, but Commerce Bank had this wow customer service. Like their whole brand was about like going above and beyond for people. And that really spoke to me. So I applied for a job there and they hired me. And next thing I knew, I was weekend supervisor in charge of the WOW. So every Friday we wore the red, all red, everybody wore red. I would do cartwheels in the branch. And this gentleman who was a patron at the bank or a customer at the bank came and said, I heard you have your securities licenses. Tell me about that part of your career. So I'm just, I just talked to everybody. And it turns out he was hired to be the head of the wealth management division in Manhattan. And he said, I'm going to ask your branch manager's permission, but I'd like to recruit you to help put the wow factor into the capital markets division of this company.
Oh my gosh, I just got the chills. That's so fun. I love that. Picturing you do cartwheels in a branch for like a blip of my life. I was like a customer service opening accounts for banks. It's just so funny to think our wow factor was like we made popcorn on like payday, like you're doing cartwheels and like making everybody make it super memorable, right? Oh my gosh, that's so fun. All right, from there, you were recruited to go higher up on the wealth management side. Tell me more. How did that go?
Mark Steven so the first mentor in my life was my dad and how he created community. Well, Mark Steven was the next great influence. He was a lacrosse coach, much like my dad was. And he also had two girls that were on his teams that he was coaching their teams. I'm like, this is great. But he also was, product of the wealth management environment. So he knew how to manage people. He really felt for the heart and soul of the producers, people who were on the business development tip every day in and day out, trying to bring in customers. So he asked me to help organize him so he could have the meetings with the CEO, with the founder of the bank and things, and bring that wow factor into the private banking capital markets space. Because when the branches would do their wow awards once a year, I actually got to dance on the stage at Radio City Music Hall because I was in the wow awards.
That's like
Loud
the
as a
great
rocket.
claim to fame, right? Yeah, yeah.
But he gave me so much creative freedom. He's like, you're going to teach me how to do this here. You embody this brand. Let's go. And so, I started helping him create those experiences for the team to be able to go to the WOW Awards dressed in like a baseball themed. And we created a theme song. And so it made financial services more alive to me than it had ever been before. And he was always about, he was a coach. He said he was the coach, the mentor, and the friend. And I never forgot the trifecta of what that meant to people. He just melted people's hearts and always everybody knew that he was there for them. And so when I did my next iteration of my career, when I'm like, Mark, I love working with you, but I don't love financial services the way that you do. And he said, Alissa, you have to run towards something.
Oh,
Don't run away from stuff. And so there I went. That was the beginning of my consultative career, was really getting out there and moving on from him. I gave him my resignation on April 1st and he's like, is this a joke?
yeah, right. I would have thought so too.
Like, no, but he empowered me and he didn't keep me captive, which was really, like ingenious in like a corporate space. Cause when you're in a corporate environment, it's like, do as much as you can to keep you where you're at because you're valuable and we don't want you to move. But he was like, follow your heart, because if you stay somewhere you don't want to be, it's gonna, kill you slowly.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I never looked back after that.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. You give him your resignation letter, and what was next after?
So I said, okay, what I'm running to is a job with sneakers. I grew up in the bagel business and I was customer service, slinging cream cheese onto bagels and saying, next, how would you like your coffee? So I was done with the corporate environment. I'm like, you know what? I just want to go to work in sneakers. And I had met someone who was a golden parachute. He had been downsized and was a C-suite executive and said, I want to open a franchise. And I said, oh, well, you're going to be an entrepreneur then. And he said, well, I know how to do business. And I said, they're very different animals. So I partnered up with that gentleman who was opening a gym, and I became his boots on the ground, his business development, kind of training him that there are systems and process, but before systems and process, you need to win the hearts of the people. You need to be in your community doing the things. And while I was doing that, I met my husband. He was my first member at that gym. He bought the first membership, and from that point in history, life gets a little less clear. We started a family almost immediately and got married. And I worked for a couple of different golden parachute guys opening franchise locations, helped them get their business up and running. And then I realized, I really want to be home with my kids. And how do I figure out how to do that? Well, I have to go full tilt on my own, like hang my name on that shingle and really do this thing. What is it that I'm all about? What is the value I've been helping people with all along? And so I went and got trained as a human potential trainer. We invested all of our wedding funds in my personal development, because I'm like, what? How do we go about doing this? And so from that point on, you want to talk about people pouring into me. I learned from Jack Canfield himself 5 weeks that year about how to train people how to get from where they are to where they want to be. And so he was one of the great leaders in the human potential movement. And so I walked away from there going, well, I can't not be a product of this work. So I started to see all these messes and incompletes in my life, and places where I could take 100% responsibility that I hadn't seen before. And all while learning how to be a wife and a mom. And I'm like, well, why not drink from the fire hose? That's kind of what life throws at you.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I mean, learning from Jack Canfield himself is incredible. All the books he's written and advice, and just being able to translate that and have people change their lives, and learning from the guy himself. And then you being able to take and self-identify. It sounds like some people need to take your advice, because like being able to go and see the flaws in the stuff you are, or like we were just talking about how like I'm the bottleneck of my own business for this and this, but also like in your personal life, like just being able to assess that and then change to go into the new chapter. Tell us more. Like you trying to be your own thing, and then, family, mom, wife. I want to know the rest. There's so much more.
Well, they say the rest is history, but I feel like the rest is just the beginning of where I got to become here today as the Consultress. I started pivoting my brand because I knew it was more about who you are than necessarily what you do. But that's kind of where my intellectual property started to emerge. It's putting together these two worlds of like the left brain and the right brain, because I'm learning how to be a mother. I feel like I've got dead brain, like I don't know what I did if I even brushed my teeth today. And here I am trying to change the world. And I had a best friend at the time who, thank God for her, we both had children. Youngest were both born around the same time. And she was buying a business. And so she says to me, we were casually talking. And she says to me, all this advice you're giving to me, like, you should do this for a business. Can I hire you? And I thought, oh, yes. So I was teaching her the basics of business development around segmenting your book of business and getting very clear of which clients you want to attract more of and give more of yourself to, so you grow that piece and then let go of the folks maybe that don't serve. So from a very like poignant point of contact, that was my IP coming up live. So I thought I was helping with business development. Someone hired me for marketing. Buyer's broker agent, back when that wasn't even really a well-known thing, came to me and I helped him devise his marketing and things. But it was all about merging who you are with what you do. And so my kids, at the time I was starting to expand into New York City, and I hired this woman to bring a mastermind together. And she kept saying this one thing that was really rubbing me the right way, but the wrong way. And was like, oh, when we went from the agrarian to the industrial age, all the farmers went into the factories and they were like trying to be creative. And the factory owners were like, no, we got to get these people when they're 5. It's too late for these folks. We have to teach them from an early age how to sit down, shut up, and screw the screw. And my skin would crawl because my daughter was 5. And I'm like, I can't unsee that. This is exactly what she's talking about with the human potential. We all learned to become part of a machine. And now that we sit here at this day and age where it's the age of disruption, nothing's going back to normal, everything's accelerating. We have to shed that identity that we are meant to be a cog in a wheel. we're all brought to this world with gifts, and dang it, if now ain't the time to bring those things loud and proud, because that's what gets to be that new age that we're ushering in together. So I saw this huge imperative of bringing my kids home to homeschool them for 6 years for most of their elementary career. I'm like, oh my God, I'm training 50 and 60-year-olds how to unlearn some of the stuff that I'm watching my kid come home from kindergarten and first grade with the seedlings of the same damn plants.
Wow.
Oh no.
If you aren't speaking to me right now, my husband's like, they're 4 and 7. Maybe we should homeschool them for a little while. And I'm like, I'm not like Miss Susie Homemaker. Like, I'm this like business consultant, like fund owner. Like, I know what I know, dropout engineer, but how do I teach a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old? But like, you're making such a mark on me right now to think, you're right. You're right. Like, the schools are just teaching them to sit still and do your work and to do what's told and to like, and we have a great school, but like, you're right. You're so right about this.
I
Oh my
couldn't
gosh.
unsee it. I couldn't unsee it. Again, it made my skin crawl, and I'm like, oh, well, I can't unsee that. I'm a human potential trainer outsourcing my humans. Fun. I flipped
Yeah,
out.
I was like,
So I had to make it work, right? As entrepreneurs, we're out here saving the world, and we're helping people access their greatest potential. And as mothers, we're responsible to make sure that our children have the best foundation possible so they can usher in what the world gets to be next. They're going to create what's next too. So while I'm homeschooling my kids and I'm running this consulting practice, it ebbs and it flows, and I dedicate all this time, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it gave my kids and my clients access to real-time me. There was not a point in time where I felt like I was being fake to anyone. I'm like, listen, life is full of ups and downs. That's what creates your courage and your confidence. So if you've got this myth, this industrial age myth that you're just going to go and up the ladder, up the chain, and then it's all gravy from there. Like, you got a hard awakening coming.
yeah.
So
I was gonna say, wake up.
yeah, learn how to put them together, learn how to be the best you can, revise and renew and review on a constant basis, because that informs what we get to decide on next. Because the world is in constant flux right now. And as we grow, as we learn, we must change what we're doing. Business is not the way our granddaddy used to do business anymore. Neither is parenting. And if we're going to succeed and we're going to set our clients and our kids up for success, we have to acknowledge that that's the case and give them tools to be able to ride the waves, because this is not, sets of 3-4 foot waves. These are tsunamis heading our way. Look at what AI has done. Look at what CRMs have done in the last 20 years. Like, we thought the internet was disruptive. Holy moly, buckle up, buttercup. So anyway, I'm really passionate about teaching people how to integrate who they are into what they're doing, because it has applications in every area of life.
I think this means so much more now than ever, even just like being able to interview to hear this out, because people are thinking like, oh, well, there's brand familiarity, and then there's people that are faithful to those brands for whatever reason, but it's how they make you feel. And if you can be the person that is just the real you. I think that's why people are like, I can't believe somebody's making how much money on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or all of these places where people just hopefully get to be as real as possible. It's who you are and maybe what you're doing to make your life better. Like, that's my favorite cup. You guys should buy it from me. I get 10 cents for every cup you buy. Like, you're just being the real you. And so for you to understand that this is the pivoting moment when everything is going to continue to be a sea of sameness, that what's actually going to stand out is you just being you and the value that you could probably add to other people in making all that happen. Okay. So this is so fun. I love this. What did this continue to be for you? Because you can't just be mover and a shaker for people and you not grow more in yourself. Tell me about some of those stories along the way from starting your own thing.
It's
Case
confronting.
7, that one story.
It's confronting. So, people pleaser recovering people pleaser here, just saying. Learning how to add value to the world had me really look at where saying yes to people and just like letting them have their own beliefs in some ways was harmful, because people started standing up for that for me. Again, you want to add in another person who poured into me after Jack and Patty. Jesse Elder walked into my life and was like, by the way, if you're not holding people through these 4 gates of decision making to get really present with what's wrong and really present with what could possibly be and where the gap is, and letting them sit in that awareness and don't rescue them. Don't be like, no, it's okay. That's enabling. Stop doing that. And I was like, oh man, I wanted to be able to sell. I didn't want you to tell me that I had to have people all the way feel their feelings and I can't rescue them anymore. That was, whoa, man, like big bombshell, blow up my world. And I was like, okay. So in order to help people get massive transformative results, I have to be willing to stand for what's possible for them and not squirm with them when they're getting uncomfortable realizing the truth. Oh, and I had to sit there and realize my truth. It's like, fudge, man. What? So again, if you're going to be standing up for people and their value, like I agree that that is needed, but I can't do that for other people unless I understand it for myself. Again, taking myself out of that perpetual like people pleasing. I'm going to get another certification. I'm going to get another, batch of letters after my name. I had to stop that like academic automatic train ride and say, whoop, stop. Where am I putting this stuff? How am I personally transforming? And so, I realized I was enrolling people in my personal life. I was starting a scout troop for my kids for their unschooling education. And I had to let people know, hey, there's scouting, you can do Girl Scouts and Browns, but like what we're doing is we're going to let them explore and get messy. So like I was already having these types of conversations. They just didn't have a price tag necessarily at the end of them. So being able to see where I had to step into my power more and let people experience themselves in a different way. Like that was, again, really confronting. And my husband helped out with that a lot too, because he's got a lot of faith in me and a lot of confidence. But when I get weak or when I start like telling myself a story he's like, no, 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 don't run away from that. This is truth. So like I had to stop hiding on my own. Like I had to stop me from doing that stuff so that I could show up more powerfully and be present for other people wanting to make big changes in their life. But it's not like, oh God, it's not comfortable. Oh,
No, no, I relate so much because I want to save people from what they're doing. And the only way I know how to do it is multiple genres of hanging out with people versus giving them really cookie cutter skills or being able to instill actionable steps. I love that you're doing that in a manner that I can only dream. I have to hire people to do stuff like that for me, which is so awesome why I know you now. But whenever you start working with these individuals that come find you, what are you seeing some of their results like reflect into them or their business?
so I'm looking at my like bouquet of people who've walked away like more confident, more grounded in who they really are. They're taking off this mask of societal expectation that they didn't even know they were wearing. So for example, one of my favorite clients was a real estate lawyer. Came to me, was like, had a bunch of things happen in his life and said, I need a reset button because I'm not really, sorry, buddy. My dogs are whining right now.
You let them know.
He came to me saying, I really want to, up level, restart, but I got to do this. And he started to tell the story of like, sit down, do the work, grind it out, do the things that are uncomfortable, work late nights, don't see your family. Like that was the narrative he was starting to spin. And I was like, hang on. Why don't we look at what instead is already working? Let's look at where you've had wins, who you already have no like and trust factors with. And let's start from a place of like, you already got this. Like you're a great lawyer. You have lots of relationships. You went through this really tumultuous time in your life and in your work. Like the market's changed. Real estate has not been like peaches and cream lately. So bringing him back into a place where he could see he already had a lot of success and a lot of momentum, but waking him back up to like what already, it's like that book, The Gap and the Gain by, Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And it's really helping him see all of the gains and all the possibilities that come from what's already good. And so he walked out of that engagement he was back in the game. His production was way back up where it belonged. And he had more esteem in his firm. His strategic partners and his network was like, wow, we're so grateful. You're giving us all this generous time and attention and wanting to go out to lunch and wanting to connect us with people. Like, how can we help you? And so leads start to pour back in,
Right.
so he walked away with a book of business that was alivened, awakened, and thriving. And he himself was like, wow, I forgot how this feels.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah, that refresher that he totally needed. Oh man, there's a few people at this point that are like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be your friend. How do I find you? I probably need to hire you." What is your favorite way for people to come stumble into knowing you? Like, how do you want me to get them to come find you?
Well, you can find me on all social at Consultress, just like it sounds, Consultress. I feel like I'm giving you a 1-800 number right now,
Does I feel like it might be the same digits even.
right? 1-800 Consultress. So Consultress, I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Those are the places where I hang out the most. Send me a connect request, send me a DM. Hey, Tiffany sent me, and let's have a talk.
Absolutely. And if you are like, I can't find her, friend me, and then I'll get you with her because that's the whole point of all of this. But tell me, because we have like a couple more minutes, I want to hear some of the best or your favorite like nugget of advice you love to leave with people. And they're like, what's your favorite, whatever that looks like for you? Because I have probably 5 locked and loaded, always ready to go for someone. So tell me your favorites.
Community is everything. People don't do business alone. Even if you feel like you're in business by yourself, if you're a solopreneur or you're the only person in your company that does what you do, community is everything. So one of the tools that I have amassed throughout my journey is creating community masterminds, inviting people to a repeatable space where the goal is, what are you working on and how can we all support that? Because 1+1 is way more than 2, especially in that. So creating your own mastermind for me was one of the most powerful things I ever learned how to do. So that creates community. It creates generosity and connection. So all day long, create a mastermind, consistent time, consistent location. That can be on Zoom, and get in a room and ask what you can do for other people. I think there's a JFK quote out there that I'm going to butcher right now. So I'm not going to say it, but like, the point is people love when you pour into them and they want to reciprocate. So creating a mastermind, humongous for me. If there's one business tool, if I got my men in black erased that I would like to remember, that would be it. Remember how to create a community mastermind.
That's incredible. It is now from here, I imagine people are going to be able to find everything that you've invented, everything that you're working on right now. So one last thing I want you to leave anybody with is you've done so much cool stuff. You are continuing to do so much cool stuff. What's on the horizon? Like what's next that you want to maybe give us a little secret about or pressing forward with the greatness you're doing?
I am creating more sisterhood with the babes in business. So that is the community forum that I love to invite women in business, especially if you're out there building your thing, to come and have sisterhood, because I learned in my career that sisterhood meant so much. So come and explore the babes in business with me. It is a community mastermind of women in business, and we are growing leaps and bounds to be able to help other women connect, not necessarily industry specific, but help people along their journey. And so I invite you to come and join. And then on the horizon for me, I'm also a real estate investor. I am building with my mentor and business partner a community mastermind specifically for people who want to get started in investing and scale if they've already got 1 or 2 things going on, how to create that business model and that legacy plan. So these are the 2 things that I'm holding dearest and nearest to my heart, that you can come and play.
I feel like I'm your little sister, like sister from another mister, all the cool stuff that you're working on. I love it so much. You've been incredible. I thank you so much for your time, excessive time, because we've spent so much time the last couple of days together. I'm so appreciative. And you guys reach out, all the show notes below. Thank you for staying for the entire episode. We are going to be having amazing guests keep coming on. And if you're thinking, I want to be a guest, I'm cool too, let me know and we can see about putting you on the show. I will chat with you later. Thank you again, Alissa, and then we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.
Sounds great.